What's up, guys, and welcome to the Foot and Fist Sports Network, where today we're going to be talking about the UFC fights from last night, in particular the co-main and main events. So let's start off with Hector Lombard versus Neil Magny. It was a really, really entertaining fight, and the first round started off in typical Hector Lombard fashion. 0 to 60 immediately. He instantly connected with a big shot on Neil Magny that stunned him. He had him on the ground. He rocked him. Had him on the ground for about 3.5 minutes, where he was consistently pummeling him. There were some good transition. Neil Magny did a very good job of protecting himself after, I would say, the first 30 seconds of being stunned. He was taking some big shots on the ground, but he managed to eventually get out. He even threw up an arm lock, which was somewhat close. Not too close, but it was something that sort of kept Hector Lombard humble and kept him from maybe putting the amount of pressure that he could have had he not been under pressure from the submission. After that, Neil Magny did manage to get up, although he was clinched up, and he did eventually manage to get out of the clinch as well. Found his range back. He was moving around like Magny usually does, but for some reason he went in for a takedown. It was never a very convincing takedown attempt. Hector Lombard easily stuffed it and got back on top and finished the round, beating on Magny. So it was easily a 10-8 round for the Cuban. Second round, Hector Lombard, as he's done so many times before, he was looking gassed. There's something to what Joe Rogan and what so many other people say about guys like Lombard and Woodley and Romero, who are so ripped, so big. It takes a lot of oxygen to be able to sustain that kind of muscular build for a long period of time. And when somebody like Lombard, who he puts everything he has in every single punch, and when he had Magny looking like he was in danger, he put out a lot of energy in that first round. And you could really tell just when they stood up off the stool, waiting for the second round to begin. He was in deep, deep trouble, fatigue-wise, and Magny pounced on him. Magny recovered immensely from the brutal first round. He went out there, in the second one, and he was moving around like he usually does. He was landing his jab. He was keeping Hector Lombard at range. Hector didn't have the energy to explode and get in close against Magny, and Magny used that beautifully. I don't remember exactly how it was, but eventually, I think it was Hector Lombard shot in for a takedown. Magny stuffed it, ended up on top, and from there he didn't turn back. He got mount, he pounded out Lombard, and really it could have been finished. I think the second round was a lot closer to being finished than Neil Magny was close to being finished in the first round. Lombard was not defending himself particularly well. At least Magny, for the most part, he was always covering his face. He always had at least one hand blocking the strikes, and not much really connected brutally. Now, in Lombard's case, for the most part, his head was just standing there getting pummeled. He was just standing there taking shots. He wasn't really doing a whole lot to defend himself. There wasn't as much movement on his part in transitions, trying to get out, and he eventually almost got choked out too. He was in a pretty not choked out, almost got he was in trouble because he ended up in a triangle and the arm lock at the same time. So Neil Magny had him in a triangle position, which was never quite synced in, but eventually at the same time he ended up with both the triangle and the arm lock, and that looked like it was pretty close to being finished. Hector Lombard, obviously being a black belt, it was very high level. He managed to get himself out. But even so, the energy just wasn't there for him. At that point, he was completely exhausted. And Magny, which kept on pounding on him, pounding. He was even looking up at the referee. Lombard had his thumbs up, but he was just taking shot after shot. He was never looked like he was actually, intelligently defending himself. But he eventually got finished. Not finished, excuse me. The round finished, and they went to the stools. You could just see in Lombard's face that he was in deep, deep trouble. And the third round started, and he just had nothing left. Magny instantly hit him with a shot, dropped him, got the TKO, becoming the first man to ever stop Hector Lombard with a finish. Great performance from Magny, coming back from a very devastating first round. Hats off to him. I actually picked him winning a decision, so but hats off to him. I think he should go up against a top 5 contender. If you look at the matchups that are available, welterweight is kind of, most of the fighters are taken. The only person that isn't really taken right now the only people are Johny Hendricks and Tyron Woodley, but Woodley's only waiting for a title shot, whereas Johny Hendricks just came off a loss of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, a very bad loss. So I think that the ideal matchup for both men would be Johny Hendricks versus Neil Magny. I think that Johny Hendricks fighting Neil Magny would have the chance to sort of take on an opponent that's less dangerous when it comes to TKO power. Neil Magny doesn't have the kind of power. He just has a lot of gas tank and he's very persistent. And I think that would be, good for Johny Hendricks, who basically ever since he fought GSP has only gone against Robbie Lawler, Matt Brown, and Wonderboy Thompson, guys who are very dangerous and guys who can finish you, at any second, basically. I think that fighting a guy like Neil Magny, who is more than likely going to go 3 rounds, so you have more time to sort of get yourself back into a rhythm and get yourself back into the groove and show the world what you're capable of. I think that would be an excellent matchup for Johny Hendricks. And I think that from Neil Magny's point of view, it would be a really good chance for him to showcase himself against a big name, against a guy who is recognized as one of the best fighters in the world, and most importantly, get another shot at the top 5 after losing to Damian Maia. I think that because of those reasons right there, that would be the best matchup for them to go for, going forward. I think it would be very favorable for both guys, and I think that the UFC would probably put that together because Johny Hendricks, he does more than likely ensure that it's going to be a striking, because it's going to be a striking battle because of Neil Magny's takedown defense and Neil Magny's ability to keep it at range. I think it'll be a good fight. I think it'll be also a good test for Johny Hendricks because he's now going to have to take on, Roy McDonald, Wonderboy Thompson eventually. But once again, those are all guys that have great range. He clearly showed weaknesses in that sense against Wonderboy Thompson, so I think this is a good chance for him to work on that. Next up, I'm going to talk about the main event, Mark Hunt versus Frank Mir. Honestly, I was pretty shocked to see in EA Sports UFC 2 how, there's a system where you can pretty much pick who you think's going to win, what round, how, whether it's TKO, submission, or decision. To me, shockingly enough, Frank Mir was the favorite according to the players of the game. When I saw it, which was the day before the fight, it was at 57%. 57% in Mir's favor via submission in I think it was the first or second round. As soon as I saw it, I was like, what? I mean, we're talking about Mark Hunt versus Frank Mir here. We're talking about Mark Hunt, who has granite fists. He's got a great chin. He's not easy to take down. He's very difficult to take down when he's fresh and when he's not really under that much pressure. Because of his size, because of how stocky he is, how thick he is. For a guy like Frank Mir, who's much taller than him and who isn't exactly as explosive as he used to be, let's just be honest, it was never going to be easy to take Mark Hunt down. In order to do that, you have to get the perfect timing, and it has to be a very, very good shot, and you saw the only shot that Frank Mir even attempted was easily stuffed by Mark Hunt. I mean, it didn't even look like it was anywhere near threatening to the Super Samoan, and that's exactly what happened, I expected it to be a KO in first round, and Mark Hunt was, Frank Mir was throwing out his jab, trying to keep him in range, only went for that one takedown. Mark Hunt, as soon as he went in for the first time where he was really looking for the punch, he connected with a beautiful right hand behind the ear. Typical Mark Hunt fashion, he walked off, and another classic moment from Mark Hunt's highlight reel. Easy win. I mean, even Mark Hunt after was like, sorry. It was too easy, too short, I think Frank Mir, he clearly can't compete with the best guys. As soon as he comes up against a guy that has really good striking and who's going to connect with him, he's going to sleep. I think Frank Mir should probably just retire at this point. Or maybe go to a lesser organization. But yeah, easy win for Mark Hunt. I expect that to happen. I think that there are a lot of really good possible matchups for Mark Hunt right now. If you look at only guys that are unbooked, I think one name really, really pops out and makes a lot of sense, and that's Josh Barnett. Barnett's coming off of a submission loss against Ben Rothwell. Ben Rothwell's on a tear lately, so it's a decent loss. It's not one of those losses where it's like, oh my God, what's going on? So I think that a matchup against Mark Hunt would be between two Pride legends, two guys that are extremely popular in Asia and around Australia, that kind of, basically Oceania. And I think that it would be a tremendous fight to see Mark Hunt versus Josh Barnett in the Saitama Arena in Japan. Can you imagine how much that would sell? That would be huge. That would be massive. And I think both guys would really love it. Obviously, Josh Barnett, he loves fighting in Japan. Mark Hunt's right down the street, pretty close anyway. I think that would be a tremendous fight. I think that it would be a very spectacular fight, obviously. You got Josh Barnett, who, sure, he's a submission specialist, but he's also really, really good on the feet. Mark Hunt's tremendous on the feet. I think that would be the best possible match that they can make. But also, if you don't quite want to make that matchup, or if for some reason Josh Barnett doesn't want to take the fight, or Mark Hunt, there are two other options in my opinion. Now, you see Junior Dos Santos is fighting Ben Rothwell soon. And you also have Arlovsky versus Overeem. I think the loser of those two fights, maybe the loser of Dos Santos versus Rothwell could fight Hunt, or the loser between Arlovsky and Overeem could also fight Hunt. I think that if you look at those, though, Mark Hunt versus Junior Dos Santos would be a really good rematch of a great fight they had in 2013 that was only finished by a Junior Dos Santos spinning wheel kick. Nobody expected that, not even Mark Hunt. Obviously, there's no way of blocking it. So that would be a really fun fight, a really good rematch I would definitely like to see. A fight with Andrei Arlovsky is the one that would interest me the least, because if you look at Arlovsky, he has a very suspect chin. It's going to be a striking fight with Mark Hunt, and I don't see how Arlovsky possibly wins that. He doesn't have the power that Mark Hunt has. He doesn't have the chin that Mark Hunt has. So I just think it would be very similar to the Frank Mir fight in the sense that Mark Hunt would get a first-round knockout pretty easily. So I'm interested in that fight simply from rankings point of view, but not specifically compared to other options that there would be. Also, I think that Overeem versus Mark Hunt would be a very similar sort of appeal to Barnett versus Hunt, because they're both very popular in Japan. I think that it would be a battle between two K1 Grand Prix world champions, so it would be a very good striking matchup, very entertaining. Mark Hunt Alistair Overeem, does also sort of have a suspect chin, but he's shown lately that he's getting better at protecting it. He's getting better in general at his game. I think that it would be a very interesting fight, especially if they hold it in Japan, where both fighters love to fight and they're both immensely popular. It would be just like the Barnett fight. It'd be a very good headliner for a fight night in Japan. Overall, looking at these... Oh, there's also Ben Rothwell, I think that Ben Rothwell, if he were to lose, would probably be fighting against someone a bit higher in the rankings, maybe the loser between Cain Velasquez and Travis Brown, simply because Ben Rothwell's on a big win streak, and I think that would make more sense just from a titles perspective. Mark Hunt just lost to Stipe Miocic in a really big loss, so I think he should go on maybe get one more win against someone who's, not quite top 3, but top 5. I think that Rothwell is a bit farther along the line right at this particular moment. So I think that the biggest fight between Arlovsky, Dos Santos, and Barnett, and Overeem, between those 4 possibilities, I would say that Josh Barnett is, without a doubt, the most compelling fight, because, like I said, it'll be huge in Japan. It's a very interesting matchup. And it can not only headline a fight night card, but I think that it would be an excellent choice to be the opener of UFC 200. Can you imagine 2 very, very, very popular guys, well respected by the fans? Josh Barnett's great at selling fights. He's very entertaining. Mark Hunt's, he's Mark Hunt. Come on. It would be a war, and it would be an excellent, excellent fight. And I would love to see those guys go at each other. All right, guys. Let me know in the comments who you think Mark Hunt and Neil Magny should take on. Also, who you think Frank Mir or Hector Lombard should take on, or whether Frank Mir should retire. I personally think he does. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the Foot and Fist Sports Network. There will be a gaming channel being launched soon. I'll have that in the description below. And see you next time. Thanks for watching.